Good morning. In 10th class biology, in the life process, we have to study transportation in human beings. Transportation in human beings can be divided in three different circulatory pathways, and these three circulatory pathways can be studied in five different classes. We know that pieces, amphibians, reptiles, aves, and mammalia. These are the five classes. And in these five classes, we can study three different circulatory pathways. First of all, we should study fishes. In fishes, heart is two chambered. One atria is there and one ventricle is there. We have to know that this atria and ventricle have a setup. These are connected with the blood capillaries with the gills. When the body having the respiratory process and when the CO2 is released from the body cells, that blood will be taken and that deoxygenated blood will be carried and brought to the atria. Atria pumps the blood and that blood reaches to the ventricle. From the ventricle, ventricle pumps, contracts and blood is pumped to the gills. In gills, the carbon dioxide is diffused out and the oxygen which are dissolved in the water will be taken by this blood, and this blood will be coming and going through the different parts of the body to the entire body parts, and oxygen is supplied to the body parts. Again the respiratory process is taken, again the CO2 is product, again the CO2 is taken by the blood, and that blood, deoxygenated blood, is brought back to the atria. Again atria will pump, will go to the ventricle, again ventricle will pump, go to the gills. So in this way the blood is passing only once in one total circulatory pathway through the heart. That's why we can say this single circulation. Single circulation mean it refers that blood circulation if once taking place through the heart. That process of circulation of blood is called as single circulation, and it is happening in two-chamber heart, and this two-chamber heart is found in fishes. Now we will discuss about the three-chamber heart. And this three-chamber heart is found in two classes members. One is the reptiles and second is the amphibians. In this amphibians and reptiles, three-chamber hearts are found, two atria are found and one ventricle is found. Two atria are found and one ventricle is found. You can see the diagrammatic figure. In this figure, two atria are found and one ventricle is found. If the blood is coming to the atria, if this blood is coming to the atria, oxygenated blood, it will be going here to the ventricle. And if from the body, if the deoxygenated blood has formed throughout the body after the respiratory process, that is also brought to this atrium. Now this atrium will be bringing deoxygenated blood, and now this atrium will be bringing oxygenated blood, and both this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are pumped by these two atria and pumped to the ventricle. Now the ventricle will have the mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, and when this ventricle will pump, the blood will be going to the lung and to the body parts. So in this way, when the septum is absent, when the longitudinal septum is absent between the atria and between the ventricle, because this septum divides two atria and two ventricles, and the division done by this interauricular septum or interventricular septum ensures the purity of the oxygenated blood and purity of the deoxygenated blood. But in the amphibians and in the reptiles, due to the absence of this interventricular septum, the blood get mixed, and the oxygen and deoxygenated blood both are carried in the impure form and will be pumped to the different parts of the body. In this way, the respiratory output, the energy emission is affected. So we can say once it will be passing through the two atria till this can be said as double circulation. But when it is crossing the atria and mingling into the single ventricle, this lack of septum will allow the mixture of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood, and this is incompleting the double circulatory pathways. So this is called incomplete double circulation. Now we will have to study the double circulation, and this double circulation is taking place in aves and in mammals. In aves and in mammals, four chamber hearts are found. These four chambers, upper two chambers are called atria and lower two chambers are called ventricles. We know that left atria, right atria are separated by interauricular septum, and left ventricle and right ventricle are separated by interventricular septum. So the longitudinal septum is lengthwise separating two atria and two ventricles. So there is not chance of any mixture of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So if this heart is pumping the blood and blood is going through the body, respiratory process are performed, and again these are brought back to the heart. So two pathways are taking place. One, I want to show you the figure. When you are respiring, when you are inhaling, the oxygen is coming here. This pulmonary vein from the heart, this capillary from the lung, it will take the oxygen. The oxygen is brought to the pulmonary vein to the left atria. Left atria will pump the blood, goes to the left ventricle. And left ventricle will pump the blood. It will be going through the aorta, and aorta will supply this oxygen to the different part of the body. Means here the oxygenated blood is circulating through only one pathway from pulmonary vein, left atria, left ventricle and aorta and the body tissues. So this is the circulatory pathway which is carrying only one type of blood, which is called oxygenated blood. Now after the respiratory process, the carbon dioxide form, and that carbon dioxide is taken by the capillaries, and that capillaries will be bringing them to the vena cava, and that vena cava will be carrying this deoxygenated blood and will be bringing to the right atrium. Right atrium will pump the blood, goes to the right ventricle. Right ventricle will pump the blood, goes to this is pulmonary artery, and that will supplying the deoxygenated blood or carbon dioxide to the lung, and carbon dioxide is released here and that will be exhaled out. So this total pathway having the two independent pathway, one is carrying deoxygenated blood and one is carrying oxygenated blood. So such type of circulation in which the two independent pathways are carrying oxygenated and deoxygenated blood separately, independently. So such type of circulation is called double circulation. Thank you.